Alright, so I watched this movie quite a while ago now. This is the third movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. It's from 1987, and this is like I've been going through multiple horror franchise series, and this is the next one I needed to see for the Nightmare on Elm Street, and actually happened to just be playing at the Alamo Drafthouse that I go to and work at, so it worked out well. Got to see it there on the big screen. It was pretty cool. This one is quite different from the second Nightmare on Elm Street. They went in a pretty different direction with that one. It was much goofier, campier for sure with the second one. This one, they pretty much just kind of ignore that second movie. They are bringing Heather Langenkamp back as Nancy, and it follows very much on the heels of the first one, a couple years later. Nancy's actually I think she's like a graduate student, a psychology student, and she comes to this mental ward for troubled teens. There's another, rash of teen killings, and all these teens in this ward won't sleep, and they're, semi like self-mutilating or whatever. And of course, it turns out to be that they're all being haunted by Freddy Krueger, chased by him, attacked by him, and so they don't want to go to sleep, of course. So that's the basic premise. A couple pretty decent named actors appear in this one. So this is one of Patricia Arquette's first movies, if not her first one. Her name's Kristen in this, and I think she's she's probably the main character alongside maybe Nancy. And she has like a special ability. When she was younger, she said that she could bring her dad into her dreams if she was scared. And she ends up doing something similar with Nancy. She brings Nancy into one of her dreams when she's being chased by Freddy, and they get out together. And that's something that they use for the whole group. So, there's a group in this mental ward. They all have their own little quirks and whatnot. There's Taryn, who is a drug addict. There's Kincaid and Joey. I can't remember if it was who is in the wheelchair. There's a kid in a wheelchair. So they all have kind of their own personalities. Like I said, watched this a couple weeks ago now, so I can't remember all the details 100%. But what ends up happening is Nancy wants to give these kids a drug that she's been using, which allows them to sleep without dreaming, but it's like a untested drug, so the head of the hospital that they're at doesn't want to give them to the kids. But then there's another guy who's kind of on Nancy's side and was willing to give these kids these drugs so that they can sleep without the dreams before it gets any worse. And they end up, trying to use this power that Kristen has by getting together and fighting Freddy together in their dreams. So that's the story, and a couple of things you learn from this movie about the series is that Freddy's mom was raped by 100 or so, a bunch of psychotic inmates, pretty much in the same place that these kids are being treated at, or somewhere close. Freddy's mom was a nurse, like a young nurse, and she gets locked in there overnight on the weekend, and nobody knows that she's in there. Ends up getting raped a bunch of times, and that's how Freddy is conceived. So that's something you learn in this movie. That being said, it's really good. I thought this movie was really, if not as good, maybe almost better than the first movie. It's right up there on par with the first Nightmare on Elm Street. It has really good kills. They're super creative and interesting, especially the one with Taryn. She's a drug addict. There's one guy who's likes to make puppets, so that kill's really, really gross, but it's very inventive. Freddy pulls out his on his arms, his tendons, and hanging, controlling him by his tendons on his arms and his legs. It's really gross, but it's really interesting. So, and there's one, that girl that wants to be on TV. She wants to be an actress, and she gets killed by on TV. That's a pretty good one too. So yeah, that was like the one thing that Nightmare on Elm Street kind of does better than a lot of other slashers. It has this really really good practical special effects. They're not just getting stabbed. They can be really inventive because of the nature of Freddy. He's in your dreams. So this one does it very well. It's extremely well paced. It's not goofy. It doesn't have any of that campiness that the second one had. And I think this is a little before Freddy gets too goofy. Like, he's kind of funny at parts. He doesn't talk much at all at the beginning, kind of like in the first movie, but he gets like his one-liners going, but it doesn't get to the point where it's a little overboard. So yeah, I'm gonna go to 4.5 out of 5. And of course, the movie connections, the other two Nightmare on Elm Streets, especially the first one. I think this is pretty much treated like a sequel to the first one, a follow-up to that. So yeah, I would definitely 100% say any horror fans should watch this. Any Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street fans need to watch this. So this is right up there with the first one. That's like an iconic one, and then right after that is this one. It's really good. So yeah, I think that'll be it. And I guess to sign off, I'll say, welcome to prime time, bitch.